Hey Eric, thank you so much for joining us today. To kick it off, do you mind just giving a brief intro of who you are and how you use interactive demos at Klue?
Absolutely. Yeah, so to start off, I used Novatic for my first time for a product launch when we launched basically automated insights where we collect a bunch of data and tell you what your strengths and weaknesses are. That was my first real taste of Novatic. So before ever getting too fancy with it, let's start with one tour for launch and immediately saw this is awesome from my perspective, and then from the actual user perspective, when we got to see data, it was a no-brainer. How do we kick this up a notch?
Yeah, I remember seeing that tour, and you guys incorporated some really fun, I think it was like little, not gifts, but memes at the beginning and end. And that's, I was like, this is how, it's a product marketer that knows how to engage the audience. And one thing I know we were just talking a little bit before this that I'm really excited to hear about, had the first product launch, went well, but I guess now that you have the keys, what are the next steps and demos that you're thinking about building?
Yeah, so it's actually become a line item in all of our product launches, well, with a specific tier, of course. But it's something that we want to do more show than tell, and particularly in the space of competitive intelligence software. Sometimes they want to keep things close to the vest, so it's really cool that we can break the mold with that. But I've got a little passion project that I've been cooking up. It's been about 2 months going through obviously everything from planning to getting approval to executing and launch. Got a view of a few demo centers, which is essentially, the buying process has changed where they don't want to wait for a demo, but sometimes just having one isn't enough. And I agree, one is not enough, especially if you've got a complicated product with, a lot of different jobs to be done within it. And when you think about all the different stakeholders that are involved in the buying process, it's not just your power user, your champion. So how do we use Novatic to make that buying process a lot easier? And we've settled on building a demo center out of it. So very excited that that is all coming to fruition, and we're launching here very shortly.
I think demo centers are still some of my favorite use cases because, to your point, there are so many jobs to be done, different personas that you want to cater to. It's hard to show all that in one demo. I'd love to, kind of taking a step back, get a step-by-step walkthrough of what was that process from, okay, team, I want to build a demo center, to then deciding on what should be included in the demo center.
Yeah, well, I think very first process was getting some inspiration, and it was, I think, a lot easier from conceptualization all the way to getting it approved, because I could leverage places like Rally and Dually, who have built something very similar before. And so that was like first and foremost. I wasn't just creating something out of thin air. I was able to leverage others who are doing it and doing it well. And then it just got down to like planning this thing, right? Which, I think from not doing something like this before, it's not a product launch, so to speak. So I'm not launching a product, but we are launching an offering, so to speak, right? So I took it very similarly. How do we do a product launch? I even wrote a positioning, like a whole positioning exercise about it, on like why a buyer would want to take this journey with Novatic.
Yeah, I love the idea of treating it like a product launch because then you already have a framework too of what is the planning process? What approvals do I need? Who do I need to talk to as far as figuring out what to show, what to tell? So I think that's a really good framework for other PMMs. And would love to hear, okay, so you got the product launch doc, you got it prepared. What was that process of working with other departments? Like, how did other teams slot in to figure out what should be shown in these demo centers?
Yeah, so as a product marketer, it's kind of, I guess, on me to make a lot of the calls, right? But you gotta get buy-in from everyone else. So instead of coming at the end of this and being like, hey, here are the tours that we're gonna put out there, I actually sent up a doc, sent it out to everyone, and was like, explain to me what the jobs to be done is for our main persona, right? Which is, from a meta perspective, also product marketers and competitive intelligence teams. And so I got everyone involved. We had CS, we had product in there, sales jumped in there, of course, marketing got in there, and we had, that cross-functional exercise before I ever really put down any of my thoughts on what we should or should not do. So that was really helpful, I think, because people knew right away that they were being a part of something. And I also got, my thoughts were curved then, instead of just, what I was kind of going in thinking of it as. And we ended up coming out with 5 different tours to start out with for our champion persona. We believe that there's 5 key jobs to be done that they're going to focus on. And coincidentally, 5 versions of our product that we would like to show off of that. So it worked out really nicely because I didn't have to go back to people and be like, hey, what do you think about this? It was like, here are your thoughts, and now I'm going to make the call.
Yeah, getting that feedback up front, that's what we hear a lot from some of these top builders, because one, to your point, it eliminates that like building a whole tour, then getting the feedback of like, wait, why'd you choose this, and starting from scratch. But 2, you feel a lot more confident in the decision, and you can kind of just go because you've already done the feedback part. And okay, if anyone asks you why'd you choose this, you can say, I did a survey, I asked this many departments, and it unanimously came back as this or this. I am curious, after you got all those jobs to be done finalized, what was the process of taking the input from the team and then turning those into interactive demos?
Oh, this is the fun part, right? Like, this is where I can just kind of crank on some lo-fi and do my thing. So I think for me, it was okay, we've got these jobs to be done, and then essentially tie that to the parts of the product, right? And some of them need actually 3 different modules of the product we want to show. Some of them it's more of a tighter, maybe 10 to 11 step tour. But for me, it was pretty simple. Like, how do we align those jobs to be done to the parts of the product we want to show? And one thing I couldn't necessarily quantify is like, the job of this isn't necessarily to get them to sign up with Klue. It's like, we want to get them to go see the rest of the product. So like, how do we balance the jobs to be done with, is this enough versus is this too much? And I think that's just kind of a gut check feel right now. Like, we're going to learn a lot more over the next few months on how are people interacting with these, and do they need more, do they need less? But I think we took a concerted effort to make sure that we showed just enough without any type of feeling of, okay, yeah, that was a little bit too much, and I'm not sure what's going on here.
Yeah, that's such a good distinction, that you always want to obviously give enough that they're excited, but not so much that they got it all and they still want to jump onto that live demo. Okay, last question from me for today. Any recommendations? Let's say you had a new person on your team just starting out with Novatic. Any recommendations for a Novatic newbie?
Number one, show don't tell, right? People want to see what the product looked like, and you hear it all the time, whether it's creating your website design or actually engaging with the prospect. But I think if you just show it first, you're going to see the results firsthand. I'd also say that, I think you can use them as the traditional, send them out. But then again, that requires someone to send them to you, instead of them being able to self-serve and be like, hey, I want this. So if you've got the space, if you've got the bandwidth, if you've got the real estate on your website, get them up there, right? Embed them, make them, if you can, above the fold even, and just make sure they're there for people, because you'd be surprised how much data you're going to see come flowing in from these things. Of course, using that data is a whole nother conversation that we could have, Natalie. But I think that's really it. Just get them out there. Don't be shy about it, because coming from a competitive intelligence, company, your competitor's probably seen your product. Most likely has seen it one way, somehow or another. So you putting it out there on their website is really going to help your buyer, because if your competitor is saying, oh, I really wish I could see this integration, or I really wish I could see their UI, that means the buyers are also saying that. And to me, that's a problem. So if you fix that side of it, just jump in, get your hands dirty, build some tours, get them on your site.
I love that. I can't tell you how many times we tell people, like, your competitors will probably know it or have seen it anyways, but I think validation from a competitive intel company really just seals the deal. Well, this has been awesome, Eric. I knew this was going to be a good one from such an awesome product marketer, but I really can't wait to see the demo center live, and thank you so much for
Thank you,
joining us.
Natalie. Appreciate you having me.